Welcome to Weaver's Beyond the Numbers Real Estate Podcast. I'm Rob Nowak, real estate industry tax partner with Weaver, and I'm joined as always by my partner and sometimes collaborator, Howard Altschuler, who's Weaver's partner in charge of real estate services. This podcast is intended for informational and entertainment purposes. Nothing said here constitutes any professional advice. If you have a question, call your accountant, or more importantly, call Weaver. You can always go to weaver.com to find our content, white papers, live casts, and more. That's weaver.com. Howard, buddy, for the first time in a long time, we have no guest. As I always like to say, it's just the love of the real estate industry binding us together today. I'm just back from vacation, and I know you're heading out. And just a gentle reminder to all of our listeners who might be also heading out on a vacay, the Weaver Real Estate Podcast makes excellent listening on those long car rides.
Well, okay. I guess that would be a lot of Weaver Real Estate web podcasts strung together, since we tend to keep them short. But
yes.
You know, not necessarily my first choice of what I'm going to put on the radio. But you know, it's been almost a year since we did our first podcast.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've evolved quite a ways from what we did at the beginning until where we are now.
Well, I think we've evolved and certainly gained a lot of traction. And really the credit for that, I think, has to go to all the folks who are listening to this that are hopefully listening on a regular basis. We've had such a tremendous base of support from folks who are listening, commenting, suggesting topics, as well as those at the firm who have been incredible supporters as well. So I think the success that we have had, while there certainly is some successful content to deliver, really is on the backs of those folks who are supporting us through listening and making those content suggestions, as well as to any number of the outstanding guests that we've had on the program.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. I mean, we're just a bunch of, I guess we look like talking heads on this, and we're just kind of giving our opinion on what we're seeing in the real estate market for various subjects. There's so many people who are helping with this in terms of our listeners who are coming back with ideas and feedback and suggestions. The number of guest speakers that we've had on the podcast, and also let's not also forget our marketing crew who's helping to get all these processed and out on the website and doing all that work. So really, we wouldn't. This wouldn't be working without all those folks. But it's the listeners primarily, because, the fact that people are listening to our podcast, the fact that people are commenting on it, that they're sharing it, shows that they're, they like what they're hearing and they want other people to hear it as well.
Yeah. And I mean, when we go to an event, which now that we're able to go to events as we come out of the pandemic, the fact that folks are coming up to us and telling that they are engaging with us and they are giving us those content suggestions and feedback really is very heartwarming, because when we set out to do this, we wanted to provide content that was going to be very relevant to the real estate community at large without focusing on, tax issues, which I know you don't, always want to focus on. I don't know why. Accounting issues, which I never want to focus on. And
I don't know why.
Yeah. But we wanted to really deliver content that was going to be relevant across the industry. And our listeners are telling us that, it's really, the message is really resonating. And that's what I'm really happy about, is that the content is relevant to folks in the community at large.
Agree. And in that regard, we do have a request. We'd like to hear more about what you'd like to hear. We're coming up with ideas on a regular basis, and our guest speakers are coming up with ideas, but some of you guys out there are too, but we really want to know what you want to know. And mind you, I'm not going to say that we're going to know everything. And it could be a situation where what you're interested in might be out of our realm, and maybe we just have a private discussion and kind of everybody learn together. But we really want to be responsive to what everybody's needs are, and be able to talk about subjects that are of interest to everyone.
Absolutely. Now, on that note, what do we have coming up next week? Because I think we have another guest with us.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to have another one of our internal guests from Weaver. We're going to have Scott Winkler, who is in our investment funds group. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of having a real estate partnership as opposed to real estate funds.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that both from a fund structure standpoint, tax standpoint, accounting issues? Are we going to cover a little bit of everything with him?
Probably a different subject. I think more from a business standpoint.
Okay.
In terms of, what makes sense for the sponsors, what makes sense for the investors, and why.
Excellent. Well, again, we want to thank all of our listeners for your support over the last year that's helped make this show a success. Please go to weaver.com to download this episode. You can also find us on Spotify and iTunes. Please help the show grow. Follow us on LinkedIn. For more thought leadership podcasts and live casts, you can always go to weaver.com. That's weaver.com. Thank you all.
Thanks.